Welcome back to the channel, where we dive into what-if scenarios that twist your favourite stories using Grok AI. Today, we are exploring an intriguing question. What if Jaime Lannister never lost his hand? How would this change his fate, his relationships, and the course of Westeros? Join us as we unravel this alternate history and see the ripple effects of this pivotal moment. Let's revisit the original scene. In Season 3, Episode 3, Walk of Punishment, Jaime Lannister, golden-haired, sharp-tongued, and one of Westeros' finest swordsmen, is a prisoner of Locke, a ruthless bannerman of House Bolton. Jaime, ever the arrogant lion, tries to talk his way out, boasting of his family's wealth and promising riches for his safe return. His voice strips of confidence as he leans into Locke, smirking, certain his name alone can buy his freedom. But Locke isn't swayed by Lannister gold. In a flash of rage, he slams Jaime's right hand onto a table and hacks it off with a cleaver. The shock of Jaime's face is palpable. His identity as the Kingslayer, the knight who felled a king with a single stroke, is shattered in an instant. This loss isn't just physical, it's the death of his pride, his skill, and his place in the world. It forces him to rely on Brienne of Tarth, deepening their bond, and begins his slow drift away from Cersei's toxic influence. It's the cornerstone of his redemption arc, one of the most compelling in the series. Imagine the tension in that fateful moment. Locke raises his cleaver, Jaime's eyes widen, but then Brienne lunges forward, throwing off Locke's aim. Jaime, quick as a cat, twists free, his reflexes honed from years of battle. He disarms Locke with a swift kick and a punch, his sword hand still whole. Or perhaps Jaime's silver tongue works its magic, convincing Locke that a living, intact Kingslayer is worth more to Roose Bolton than a maimed one. Maybe he spins a tale of treachery, promising Locke a lordship if he switches sides, his charm masking a cold calculation. Either way, Jaime walks away unscathed, his hand and his arrogance intact. With both hands, Jaime remains the lion we met in Season 1, bold, skilled, and untouchable. His escape becomes a tale of Lannister cunning and strength, whispered in taverns and courts alike, bolstering his legend across the realms. He and Brienne still journey to King's Landing, but without the vulnerability of his injury, their relationship stays cold and distant. Jaime sees her as a stubborn, oath-bound warrior, nothing more. He returns to the capital not as a broken man, but as a conquering hero, his swagger restored. Tywin Lannister, ever the strategist, greets his son with rare pride, seeing in Jaime the warrior to secure the Lannister legacy against rising threats. Cersei, possessive and fierce, welcomes him with open arms, their bond unshaken by doubt or introspection. Jaime's return strengthens the Lannisters' hold on the Iron Throne, with Tywin plotting to use his son's prowess to crush their enemies, Stannis in the south, Robb Stark in the north. The whispers of rebellion in the Riverlands and beyond seem distant now, with Jaime's blade ready to enforce Lannister will. Jaime's relationship shifts dramatically without his loss. Brienne of Tarth, who in the original timeline becomes his confidant and moral compass, remains a mere acquaintance. There are no shared baths, no confessions of honour, just a grudging respect at best, tinged with his mockery of her size and ideals. With Tyrion, Jaime's sympathy never deepens. He doesn't see his brother's struggles through the lens of his own suffering. Their bond stays superficial, marked by jests and distance, with Jaime dismissing Tyrion's wit as a lesser weapon. Tywin, while pleased with Jaime's martial skill, still clashes with his son's refusal to leave the Kingsguard and inherit Casterly Rock, their arguments echoing through the Red Keep. And Cersei? Jaime's devotion to her only grows. Without the introspection his injury forced upon him, he doesn't question their toxic, incestuous love. He becomes her sword and shield, enforcing her will without hesitation, blind to her flaws and the darkness creeping into her rule. Jaime's sword hand rewrites the wars of Westeros. At the Siege of Riverrun, he doesn't negotiate, he storms the castle, outfighting the Blackfish in single combat, his blade flashing as he cuts through the Tully defences in hours. His prowess inspires fear and loyalty in equal measure, his name a rallying cry for Lannister bannermen. In King's Landing, he might crush the Faith militant before they rise to power, sparing Cersei her walk of shame and keeping the Lannisters' grip on the city ironclad with steel instead of wildfire. When Daenerys Targaryen lands with her dragons and Unsullied, Jaime becomes a battlefield legend, dueling her commanders, rallying troops, and turning her conquest into a brutal, drawn-out war. Picture him facing Grey Worm in the field, their weapons clashing in a storm of sparks. Or outmaneuvering Jorah Mormont with a smirk and a lethal thrust. His presence could shift the tide, prolonging the Lannister reign and staining the realm with blood. In this timeline, Jaime remains the Lion of Lannister, his redemption lost to pride and loyalty. Fully aligned with Cersei, he stands by her every decision. When she blows up the Sept of Baelor, killing hundreds, he's not horrified but complicit, her loyal enforcer, perhaps even suggests the wildfire himself. This unwavering support might fracture their family further, driving young King Tommen to despair sooner, or pushing Tyrion to outright rebellion against a brother he no longer recognises. As the White Walkers march south, Jaime's focus remains on Lannister power. He dismisses Jon Snow's warnings as northern superstition, scoffing at tales of the dead while sharpening his blade. But when the Night King's army breaches the wall, Jaime's combat skills shines. He fights like a lion on the front lines, cutting through whites with ruthless efficiency, his armour streaked with frost and blood. Yet his arrogance and refusal to ally with old enemies could splinter the living's defence, costing crucial victories. In this timeline, Jaime remains the Lion of Lannister, his redemption lost to pride and loyalty. Could his skill save Westeros, or would his blind devotion to Cersei doom it? That's the question we're left with. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like and subscribe for more what-if scenarios. Thanks for watching.